This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good. So page 856 is Parshat Balak. And this is a very strange Parsha because usually our Parshiot are, at least from the time that, usually it's dealing with it's dealing with us, with what's going on between us, Moshe, the children of Israel. This is what went on between Balak and Bilam, and most of it was going on unbeknownst to us. This is all things that are going on behind the scenes. It's only at the very end of the parsha where we get actively involved. So let's begin. Vayar, page 856. Vayar Balak ben Zippor. Balak, the son of Zippor, saw eight kol asher asa Yisroel le'emori. All that we had done to the Emori, that's referring to Sichon and Og, those nations that on our way to Israel, and they came and attacked, and we defeated them handily. Vayagar Moav and Me'am, Ma'od, Kiravhu, and they were very, very afraid because we were numerous, even though we were not planning on going through their land, conquering their land. Vayakatz Moab and Israel, and they were like disgusted. They were in this frenzied state. Vayomer Moab was Midian. They said to one another, and Rashi points out famously that Moab and Midian were always enemies. But as we see in our world today, very, very common, that they can have people who are enemies with one another, but once Israel is involved, what happens? They're all besties. They become best of friends. Good morning, Linda, right? And good morning, Cheryl, right? Once Israel is involved, then they become best of friends. I remember during the Iran-Iraq war. Good morning, good morning. During the Iran-Iraq war in the 1980s, was that, I think it was? Yeah, right. And in Israel, we were praying for both sides. We were praying for both of them to keep busy with one another, right? And just stay away from us. It worked for 8 years. Too bad it didn't work for 80 years. Yeah, it worked for 8 years. Yeah. And it really is fascinating. I was watching MEMRI, MEMRI, Middle East Media. Yeah, it's fascinating. They translate, interviews, segments from the Arab world, right? And it was fascinating. They had this whole piece on these Lebanese politicians saying, like, why don't, like, we were so much ahead of Jordan. We've kept fighting. Jordan made peace with Israel, and now Jordan is a normal country, and their economy is double ours. Like, why are we doing this fighting? Right? Israel is not interested in taking over Lebanon. Israel is not interested in our rivers. He said all of these myths that we've been fed for 50 years are not true. Anything they've asked for is peace for their Galilee, is not to be attacked. Why are we involved in this? And you hope that there'll be some waking up in the Arab world. But typically, yeah, some movement. Yeah. So here, these two great enemies. Well, Israel's involved. Let's go. And they sent malachim, messengers, to Bilam ben Beor, to Bilam, the son of Beor, likrolot, say to summon him, saying, the nation is left from Egypt, right? Go and curse this nation because they are more powerful than us. So Rashi explains that what's happening is this. They recognized that Israel's power was not simply military power. And they attributed it to the leader, Moshe, who was from Midian, and therefore they said, oh, and his power is in his mouth. Let us employ someone, this Bilam, whose power is in his mouth. He was a Navi. He was a prophet amongst the nations of the world. Let him come and let him give a curse against the children of Israel, and that way we will be able to counter them on their trip. So just it's interesting to point out, we have this parsha begins Vayar Balak. Balak saw. And then we had back in Shemot, we had Parsha Yitro, which was Vayishma Yitro, and Yitro heard. Right? Both of them, both situations, we have leaders who have heard what was going on. Right? Yitro heard about all that. Where is it? Back in 394. Shalom. Aaron, Yitro, the Kohen had heard all that Hashem had done for Moshe and Israel out of Egypt, and Balak hears all that Israel had done to the Emori, and their reactions are diametrically opposed to one another. Yitro hears and he decides, I'm going to come and join up. I want to be part of this nation. I want to connect. Balak hears and says, I've got to go and curse them and to destroy them. And this is a point that I make all the time. I apologize to people getting sick of hearing it from me, but I think this is probably, Natalie and I met with a groom and bride from the Nuttall family, right? They're getting married at the end of October. We met with one of the Nuttall boys and his wonderful, wonderful bride. We had a couple of hours conversation just about life, marriage, and I said to them that probably the most important thing in life is to realize that your life and how good and happy or sad and tragic your life will be does not depend on the things that happen. It depends on your attitude. And you could have everything, and you can adopt a Haman attitude, who said famously, "V'kol zeh eineno shava li." Right? He had everything, all the power, all the honor, all the wealth. Right? But Mordechai is not bowing down. Kol zeh eineno shava li. This is not worth anything at all to me. And you have people who can have so little and be so happy and be so satisfied and feel they have such a rich, wonderful life. When I would ask my father, I said, Daddy, are we rich? And he said, I'm very rich in children. That's what he would say. Huh? See that? Maybe we're brothers and sisters. Who knows? See that? Right? And that's what, it's not what goes on around us. Right? Every single person has heaven and hell in their lives. That is being human. That is that is life. Every single person has heaven and hell. And we could focus on the heaven and be living in heaven. We could focus on the hell, be living in hell. It's simply our decision, our choice. I'm sorry? Yes, what we decide we're going to focus on. I think Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal said he defined love as a decision to focus on the positive aspects of someone else. Right? That's when I love someone. I'm deciding I'm going to focus on their positive aspects. Because everyone has things that could drive me crazy, or things that will endear them to me, and decide what you want to focus. And that's when it is, if you're deciding to love someone or not love someone, and that's what it is when you're deciding to love your life or to gripe about your life. There are always things going on, and we decide how we react. And we see a Yitro focused on the wonderful, and I want to become part of this. Granted, he had a daughter-in-law who was in the mix, married to Moshe, so there was a little bit of a vested interest, but that was his reaction. And Balak also saw all the wonders, and instead of saying, let me join in, let me be part of that, Balak said, let me go and try to destroy that. So they employ
Rabbi?
Bill.
Rabbi?
Yes,
One
Janet.
comment and 2.5 questions. I don't know if it's correct, but I've heard it attributed to Abraham Lincoln that people are just as happy as they make up their minds to be.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if who said it, but that's great. I love it. I
And
agree.
then my
I
question
endorse that,
is
Kathy.
getting back to Yitro and Midian and Zipporah. And first of all, if she was Yitro, Ruel's daughter, how come she's described by some as Cushite rather than Midianite?
That's a whole different. Yeah, that's a whole. I don't want to go off onto that, Jen. I want
Okay,
to
and then number
stay with.
two, why was Midian so persuadable when they knew that they had a daughter of Midian and Yitro in the midst of these Bnei Israel?
I
I
would
mean,
say, yeah,
how was
I
Moab
hear
able
that.
to even approach it?
I hear that, and I would say that it all depends what a person wants to focus on. Right? I think that goes back to what we said before. Yeah, yeah. There were many ways that this could have been viewed, and many paths that could have been taken, and this is the path that
But
they chose.
didn't Midian view themselves as allies of Bnei Israel?
Clearly
It
not.
seems
Clearly not. Right?
far fetched that they would have been
Yeah.
in the mix.
Okay. So they went and they came to Bilam, verse 7, Pasuk Zion, 856, and they told him the words of Balak. Vayomer Alem, and he said to them, Lina Ba'alayla, sleep here tonight. I'll let you know, Kasher, what God will speak to me. Right? He was not, right? Moshe was on demand. Right? Moshe was, let me ask Hashem about the Pesach Sheni question, what to do with those who were impure, unable to do the Pesach in the proper time. Right? God will come to him at night. And Rashi says, "Ein ruach hakodesh shora alav ela balayla." Right? Only at night would he have it by a chalom, a dream at the night. Whatever God will say to me, if he'll tell me to go with you, I'll go. If not, not. And they stayed with him. 858, verse 9. Vayavo Elokim El Bilam. Elokim came to Bilam and said, Mi anashim ha'ela imach. Who are these people here with you? Like he didn't know? Rashi says that, and this is a concept that we'll deal with a little bit today, which is Haba B'derech she'adam rotza leilech bo malichenos. On a path that a person wants to go, that is the path that they are led on. I will go. There's a beautiful Gemara on this, and I heard a beautiful thing from when I was in yeshiva going back a couple of years that I'll share with you. But by asking this question, so we find God does this a number of times, right? Back in Gan Eden, right? In the Garden of Eden, right? Hashem says to him, Ayeka, where are you? Right? As if God doesn't know. So there Rashi said that Hashem said that in order to enter into the conversation, right? Here Rashi says, by asking this question, God was planting in the mind of Bilam, oh, maybe he doesn't always know. So maybe I can deceive him. We'll soon see. Even though God said you won't be able, don't go. He said you can go, right? You don't curse them; they're blessed, right? Bilam thought, oh, okay, I could manipulate a little bit, right? I could I can make things go my way. Bilam answers, Balak ben Sipor, Melech Moab shalach elai. Rashi says this speaks of his haughtiness, right? Look who's sending to me. Balak, the king of Moab, is sending to me, saying the nation has left Egypt. They've covered the land. Now go, curse them for me. Yud Bet 12, Elokim says to Bilam, Lo telech imahem. Do not go with them. Lo ta'ora ta'am. Do not curse the people. Ki baruchu, because they are blessed. Don't go. Don't curse. Bilam got up in the morning, Yud Gimel 13, and said to Balak, go back to your land. God has held me back, lahaloch imachem, from going with you. Meaning, once again, according to some commentators, Rashi and others, this is his haughtiness, right? He didn't want to say, God said I can't go. God said I can't go with you. Meaning, right? Let's see what's going to happen. So what did Balak do? Two psukim ahead. He sent other officers, more numerous and more nichbadim, higher ranking than these. Oh, he implied I can't go because it's not dignified enough for me to go with lower ranked people like you. I've got to go. So he sent higher ones. They came to Bilam. I said, this is what Balak ben Sipor said. Don't hold back. We can honor you. We can give you, right, whatever you want. We'll give to you, right? The price is not an issue, right? Go curse his people. Balaam said to them, if he'll give me his whole house of gold and silver, I can't go against the word of Hashem, my God. But now stay tonight also, and let's see if God will say anything further to me. Pasuk Chav 20, Elokim came to Bilam and said to him, Im lekro lecha bo anashim kum lech itam. The way the Ramban learns, if it's lecha, if you think you'll gain personally by going with them, go with them. But only what I tell you to speak will you be able to say. Meaning, according to Ramban, he was supposed to say to them, I can go with you, but I can't guarantee that I'll be cursing. Whatever God says to do, but he didn't mention that. He wanted to go. Vayakom Bilam Baboki, he got up in the morning, and he saddled his donkey, and he went with Sarei Moab. So we see over here, right, some explain, the way Rashi learns this, God first said not to go. And now he's telling him, get up and go. Why is that? Right? We choose the path that we want to go, and that's the path upon which God will guide us. If you want, the Gemara says, I'm with you for a second, Leah, the Gemara says, Habal l'taher, if you come that you want to be tahor, you want to be pure, you want to elevate yourself, Messiahin oto, then you get helped. Habal l'tamei, if you want to make yourself tamei, potchim lo. You don't get helped, you don't get pushed, potchim lo. But the opportunity is opened up for you. If that's how you want to go, then that's how you'll go. I mentioned we have a ladies' Talmud class on Shabbos, and we're learning the Gemara Megillah. And the Vilna Gaon explains that this party of Achashverosh is really on a deeper level, in addition to the actual event that took place, on a deeper level, it's a reference to Olam Hazeh, this world. And he says there, what does the king tell all those who are in charge of the Su'uda, that big banquet that he made? Right? Bashtia Kadat Ein Ones, no one should be forced. Kikain Tzivah HaMelech, that's what the king commanded, Al Kol Rav Beiso, on whoever is in charge of his house, Lasot Kirtzon Ish V'ish. Do the will of each and every person at that party. Don't force anybody to do anything. Let them do what they want. That's Olam Hazeh. We get to do what we want. It's our decision. The Gemara says to do the ratzon of ish and ish, to do the ratzon, the will of each and every ish. So who in Megillat Esther is called an ish? Ish, Yehudi, Haya, B'Shushan Abir, Shemo Mordechai. Mordechai is called an ish. Who else is called an ish in Megillat Esther? Ish, Tsar V'Oyev, Haman Arazeh. Achashverosh says to Esther, Mi huzeh ve'ezahu. Who is it that's trying to hurt you and your people? And she says, Ish, Tsar V'Oyev. This man, this evil man, this enemy man, Haman Arazeh. So in Megillat Esther, there are two people who called Ish, Mordechai and Haman. So the Gemara says, La Sol Kitzon Ish V'ish, that at this banquet, who was in charge of the banquet? Haman, one of the officers of Achashverosh, and Mordechai, another officer of Achashverosh, right? Mordechai is probably making sure he's doing some mashkiach capacity over there, making sure that the food would be kosher for the Jews who were coming, right? But they were in charge of the banquet. The Vilna Gaon says, La Sot, the banquet of this world, Sivamelch, the king commands all those who effect events over here. Lasot, no one gets forced. Lasot kitzon ish v'ish. Everyone can decide. If you want to become a Haman, you can. That's your decision. You want to become a Mordechai? You can. That's your decision. Ein ones. No one gets forced. Everyone decides who, what they will make of themselves in this world. The path you want to go, Hashem will allow you to go on that path. Hashem said, don't go, don't curse them. They're blessed. You're persisting, you want to go? Okay, that's how you want to take it? You can go. Yes, Judy.
The next pasuk, he's impeding him from going.
Okay, let's hear. We'll
so.
come there. We'll come there soon, right? Right. He's going to. Well, we're going to see. Okay, but yes, there are going to be some impediments along the way. I just wanted to share the Gemara. The Gemara in Yuma says on the pasuk, "Im laleitzim ku yalitz, ve'im la'anavim yitein chen." The Gemara says, "Im laleitzim." If you want to be amongst those who are scoffing, hu yalitz, you can go ahead and scoff. Right? Scoffing, ridiculing all that which is good and holy. If you want to be with those who have humility, yitain chen, you'll be given a push. Right? So even though the path you want to go, you can go on, but there's a difference. Habalatahir, you want to become tahor, you want to become pure, you get helped. Habalatameh, you want to become tameh, potrin though. It's opened up for you. And the Gemara gives a mashal, gives a parable. And a person goes into a shop. And it's a shop that sells all different sorts of things. And he asks the proprietor, where is the neft? Neft is kerosene, malodorous. And he says, over there. He asks him, where is the aparsimon? The aparsimon, which has a beautiful fragrance. And he says, Hamten li, wait for me. I'll help you scoop it out. That way we will both get that nice fragrance. So when I was in Ner Yisroel, many moons ago, so this was interesting with what's going on in the world today. This was right around the time, soon after, of the Iranian Revolution. This is the early 1980s. And many Jewish families sent their young men out of Iran, not knowing what the future would hold over there. And Ner Yisroel did an amazing job. They brought in all of these young Iranian men, and they were in the yeshiva there, right? And there was a whole group of them, 20, 30, 40 of them, of these Jewish, Persian, Iranian boys who were learning in the yeshiva. And many of them have become the rabbis of different Persian Jewish communities around the world. Right? And here in Los Angeles, so Rabbi Nissim Davidi I was in Yisroel with him, and he's one of the rabbanim of the RCC who deals with the kashrut there, and deals with the gitin, and deals with the beitin, right? Really amazing. So at that time, Rav Yaakov Galinsky of blessed memory, one of the Magidim of Israel, one of those who was a great speaker in Israel, he came to Nei Yisrael, and he spoke in Yiddish, as many would, and I didn't understand Yiddish at all. I sat through the Rosh Hashiva of Rudim Zatzal's first shmooze, and he spoke about being orangutan in learning, involved in your learning. And I asked someone afterwards, why was he talking about orangutans? And they said, Ciner, next time sit next to someone who's translating. Okay, so I didn't follow the Yiddish very well. So, but Rav Galinsky also gave a talk in Hebrew for the Iranian boys, and that I was able to follow. And he spoke about this Gemara. He spoke about Mesirat Nefesh. If a person puts in the effort, you want to become good, you put in the effort, then Hashem will help you out, because these boys left everything behind and came to a foreign country, right? So that was the point that he was emphasizing. And he brought this Gemara, and he brought this Mashal, and he asks, Rabotai, Ma Mosif HaMashal, right? My masters, Rabotai, what is the Mashal adding? The Gemara already said, you want to become tahor, you get helped. You want to become pure, you get helped. You want to become impure, the opportunities opened up for you. So what is this Gemara adding? The Gemara doesn't just tell stories. What is this mashal? What is this parable adding? Right? The person who wants the neft, help yourself, stink yourself up. The person who wants the parsimon, I'll help you with it. What's the mashal adding? He said, let's hear it again. The person asks for a parsimon, he tells him, go help yourself. The person asks for neft, what does he say? Hamtain li. Wait for me, and then I'll be able to, I'll dish it out with you. And that we think life's a microwave. You put it in, 40 seconds later, you take it out, piping hot, all ready to go. That's not how it works. You make the effort, you make the Mesirat Nefesh, Habal Taher, you want to become Tahor, Messiah Noto, you get helped, but sometimes you have to wait. It doesn't happen right away. But over here, Habal Tameh, right? Over here, Bilam wants to go and curse. Therefore, what happens? Okay, you want to go? You can go. But, as we always say, my bechira ends by your nose. Meaning, my free will cannot cause anything to you unless that is something that from the heavens you are meant to have to endure that. So you can go, right? But your ability to harm Bnei Yisrael, your bechira stops at their nose. And let's see how God is going to make sure that it turns into a bracha. Yes.
So I'm wondering on the why did Balak after Elohim? Okay, suppose they gave bechira,
he gave him free will.
So why would God be angry at him? Because maybe Balak chose from naivete, said, okay, God supports me on that, I'll go.
Well, Hashem already told him not to go. Rashi says, right? It was clear that this was not something that God wanted. God said, no, you came back again. God said, listen, if you want to go, you can go, right? But clearly this is not, hey, this is a great idea, all the power to you. He saw that he wants to go. And what happened? There were impediments. A Malach Hashem stood in the way, right? And the Aton sees this angel of God, right? And the Ramban says what it means is that he felt this presence and became very frightened, right? And therefore he went off, and Bilam started to hit the Aton, and then the Malach stood again, 24, by the Mishol Hakramin, the path of the vineyards, and Vateraton, he saw again, and he pushed against the wall, and Bilam's leg got pressed against the wall, and he hit it even more, and the Malach did then a 26 a third time, and it stood in a very, very narrow place where there was no way to go left or right, and the angel just crouched down, and Balaam keeps hitting it. Hashem opens up the mouth of the Aton and says to Balaam, "Why you keep hitting me these 3 times?" And Balaam says, "Because you mocked me. If I had a sword, I would kill you." And Aton says, "I've been your loyal steed. I've been your loyal donkey, right? Have I ever caused you any problems like this?" And then 862:31, Hashem opens up the eyes of Bilam, and he sees the Malach Hashem standing there, and he bows down. And the Malach says to him, "Why have you hit your donkey these 3 times? I was standing in front of you, right? Because what you are doing is going linegdi, against me. And the Aton saw me and deviated these times, right? Bilam said, I've sinned. I didn't know you were there. And therefore, imra be'einecha ashuvali. If it's bad in your eyes, ashuvali. I will go back. You think so? You think it's bad in their eyes? Amazing, right? Rashi says that this was said with tremendous disrespect, meaning God said I can go, you're saying I can't go. God told Abraham to bring Yitzchak up as an offering. The Malach told him not to go. And the Malach says to him, Lech im ha'anashim. Go with them, but whatever I'm going to tell you to speak, that you could speak. Rashi says again, B'derech adam rotze leilech ba molichin oto. Right? You want to go, you can go. It's up to you. But we'll see where this is going to end up. Balak goes out to greet him, and they go to a place over there. They offer these sacrifices, and then he goes off to the side, 864, and he says to Hashem like a tefillah, verse 4 there, I've set these offerings before you, Hashem. Verse 5, Hashem puts in his mouth the following words and says, go back to him and say to this, you're telling me I should go curse the people. Pasuk 8, Ma ekov lo kabakel, ma ezon lo azam Hashem. How can I curse? God is not cursed. How can I be angered? God is not angered. I see them from the tops of the mountains. I see their strength. Heim ad levadad yishkon uvagoyim lo yitchashav. This is a nation that will dwell levadad by themselves. Uvagoyim lo yitchashav. And different ways of understanding this. Rashi says when they're happy, the nations are not happy with them. When they're sad, the nations are not sad along with them. That we ride a nation that rides solo. 866, 867. Who can count the dust of Jacob? Right. All right. Tamut nafshi moti sharim utiachriti kamohu. And then Bilam says, may my soul die the death of the Yisharim, and may my end be like his, like these avot. Okay, Balak says, what have you done? I brought you here to curse, and instead you've given a blessing. And he said, whatever Hashem said about, I told you, what God put into my mouth, that's what I need to say. Right? They go to another place. And what happens? Similar result. Pasuk 18, he says, 19, God is not a man who should be deceitful, nor a son of man that he should change his mind, right? Behold, barech lakachti uvarech lo ashivenu. I have brought you here a blessing and will not go against it. Lo yivit avim b'Yaakov, he does not see the sins amongst Jacob. Lo ra'amav Yisroel, Hashem elokav imo, Hashem is God, is with him, is with the nation Israel. Utrumat melech bo, right? And the friendship of God is with him, right? On and on, right? Heim kalavi, 868, verse 24. They will rise up like a lion cub. right? And then get up like an ari, like a full-grown lion. Lo yishkav, they will not lie down until they have consumed their prey. Once again, Balak says to Bilam, don't curse them, don't bless them. Bilam says, I said to you, whatever Hashem will say to me, that's what I need to do. They go then to a third place. Right? Let's see this. Chavdala, chapter 24, verse 1. Vayar Bilam ki tov v'nei Hashem levarech Yisrael. He did not go this time now to try with his sorcery or divinations. Vayisat einav, he lifted his eyes, and he saw Yisroel shochen l'shvatav, v'atil abruach Elokim. He saw them dwelling according to their tribes, and he said, right, listen, the one who says this, Pasuk 5 and 6, 870, Matovu, O'alech Yaakov, Mishkanotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, Israel, right? Your dwelling places. Jacob, your dwelling place is Israel, and that is part of our davening that we say each morning. The Beth Jacob choir begins the high holidays with Matovu, Matovu O'alecha Yaakov, Mishkanosecha Yisrael. He gives this tremendous bracha that actually became part of our tefillah. So it's interesting. The first times he went and he tried to curse, right? By the third time already, he doesn't try to curse, right? So the Nesiva Shalom says very beautifully, right? What changed? When he saw the klal, and this has so much to do with our world today, when he saw the klal, the group, and he saw the unity, and he saw the respect for one another, right? We explained the Tovu Olech Yaakov, that the doorways don't line up with one another. And that way there is this privacy, there is this modesty of each person's home, and not this respect for the space of one another. Once he saw that, then he knew that we were immune from any klala and from any curse. The only thing that could come our way was going to be bracha, was going to be blessings that would come our way. And that has been described as the superpower of the Jewish people. That when we have this achdut, this unity, when we have this respect for one another, when we focus on the good of one another, right? You know, famously the Gemara says, if you are dan lekaf zechut, then Hashem judges you lekaf zechut. Now, the kaf zechut is lazily translated as the benefit of the doubt, right? But that doesn't make any sense then. If we were to say, if you'll give others the benefit of the doubt, then God will give you the benefit of the doubt. That, of course, makes no sense because God has no doubts, right? But that's, I said, a lazy translation of lekaf zechut. Right? Lekaf zechut means lekaf will weigh them lekaf is like the measuring kaf, the measuring, right? Zechut. You'll weigh them in a meritorious fashion, meaning everything that a person does, there's good and there's bad to it. There's always, always, always that mixture of good and bad. So how are you going to weigh it? Are you going to focus on the bad and say, oh, this person did this? When you say person on the good, oh, this person did this, right? He was doing it for honor, or he was very generous, right? Oh, he was davening that way because he wanted everyone to say how nice he sings, or that was such an uplifting way that the person davened, right? We could always weigh it one way, weigh it the other way. If we weigh others in a meritorious manner, then Hashem will look at all of our actions, which are always a convoluted mixture of so many different factors. Hashem will view that in a positive way. And if we as a nation are viewing one another in a positive way, then in the heavens they will view us in a positive way, and there's no room for any klala, any curses to come, but instead what comes is bracha. Say something? Oh, okay. At the very end of the Parsha, we have a very, very, very strange, according to the sages, Bilam was not able to curse them, but did give them counsel as to how we would be vulnerable. And that is by leading us, tempting us into acts of immorality. So let's see the very end of the parsha, page 874, Perek Chafei, chapter 25. Israel settled in Shittim, Vayachal ha'am liznot el benot Moav, and the people began to commit harlotry with the daughters of Moab. They came and they availed themselves to the Jewish men, and Vatikwen ha'am lizivchei Eloheihen, and then they invited the people to the feasts of their gods. And the people ate, and they bowed to their gods. Pasuk Gimel, one of the strangest psukim in the entire Torah. V'yitzamed Yisroel leBaal Peor, and Israel became attached. Samid is a tight seal attachment to Baal Peor. Baal Peor was an idolatry, but not just any idolatry. Peor means actually to reveal oneself. Right? Kipara'o, Aaron, we said, by the Chet HaEgel, the God, that Aaron's actions had caused us to be revealed. Baal Peor was one of those idolatries that was worshipped through degradation, meaning that people would literally relieve themselves on that, next to that idol. That was the way that this would be worshipped. Right? And it's such a sickening idea. The Gemara tells a couple of stories of a woman who was very, very ill, and she was told by the doctors, you have to worship every idolatry in the world, and then you'll be healed. And she started her magical mystery tour of all the idols of the world. She comes to Peor, and she says, I'd rather die. Thanks, but no thanks. This is absolutely repulsive. I'd rather die. Or another story the Gemara tells of someone who wanted to show them just how sick and perverted this whole idea was. So the person went and defecated in front of the idol and picked up the idol and used the nose of the idol to wipe himself afterwards. And the priest gushed and said, no one has ever worshipped Baal Peor in such a beautiful, meaningful manner as you. Right? So this is this truly sickening idolatry, and this is what we were connected to. So the different ways of understanding it. Not to explain how we got so connected to that will come to, but the Nefesh HaChaim, Chaim of Volozhin, explains this as follows. The world is a mixture of Tov and Ra, of good and evil. Once we ate from the Eitz Hadas, Tov and Ra, the world became a mixture of Tov and Ra. We became a mixture internally of Tov and Ra. We have that which pulls us to do good, that which pulls us to do not so good. That's who we are. And the world became a mixture of Tov and Ra. And our job in life is choose the Tov, reject the Ra. And this works its way down to our bodies. That when we eat things that grew on this earth, which received the klala, the curse after the Gan Eden of Tov and Ra being a mixture. So when we eat things, what does our body do? It chooses the Tov and it eliminates the Ra. And that's why when we ate from the man, We complained a few parshiot ago about the man. We called it lechem hakolokel. This bread that's kolloquial, that is. I don't know how to best define it. That is. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's rudeness. There's something kilkul. There's something defective about it. Why? Because it would go in, but wouldn't go out. Why is that? Because it didn't come from the earth, which got the klala. It comes from the shamayim. And therefore it was ingested, but it wasn't eliminated afterwards. That was the lechem haklokel. Why? Because it came from there, right? And that's why that which the kohanim would eat from the karbanot was completely ingested, because any ra was burned off on the altar, and you left with kulo tov. So the man was pure tov, and the karbanot was pure tov. But if I want to worship Ra, it's hard. How do I worship Ra when everything is a mixture of Tov and Ra? Oh, the Nefesh HaChaim says that which epitomizes, that which represents all the good taken out and only Ra remaining is waste products, human waste. What has happened? The body has extracted anything that it needs. Any of the tov has been extracted, both in a physical sense and in a spiritual sense. And what are you left with? Pure, unadulterated Ra. So Baal Peor was this idea of like this Satan worship in the world today, right? You want to worship the forces of Ra. That's Baal Peor. So what was drawing us to that? So according to that, you have to say we weren't really so drawn to that, but we wanted the girls, right? So therefore, we went along with all this in order to fulfill our lust. But Rav Chaim Shmuel Levitz, he has a different approach on this, and he explains as follows: there were others, Markolis. There were different types of idolatry that were worshipped through degradation. What that did was create a situation where nothing is sacred, where everything goes, where there are no bounds whatsoever. Meaning, if I can do that to my God, then there's nothing that I could do that you'll say to me, now you crossed the line. Now you've gone too far. If that's what I do to my deity, to my God, then there's nothing that I can do which now you've gone too far. And therefore we were in a box. We were there in the midbar with God's supervision, watching us in the clouds. You do something wrong, the man falls a little further away, right? You do good things, the man comes closer. It was just under the microscope, this heavenly, godly microscope every minute, and the opportunity to break loose was something that was a tremendous pull. And really, I think everyone has that no one really wants to be told what I can do, what I can eat, what I can say, what I can look at. Everyone wants to be on my own, free. So we stuck to this, and amazingly, there was a plague after this, and 24,000 people died.
All the men.
Yeah, all men. Who else? The Arizal connects these 24,000 who died to another 24,000 that died. Who was another famous 24,000 that died? It wasn't that was yeah, but not it wasn't 24,000. Yeah, the students of Rabbi Akiva. The students of Rabbi Akiva.
Why 24,000?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So the Gemara says that the students died because they weren't showing respect, proper respect to one another. On their level, they were not showing proper respect to one another, meaning this was a time that could have been messianic. Right? This is around the time of the Bar Kokhba revolt, and we had Bar Kokhba leading the military, and you had Rabbi Akiva leading his spiritual, right? And had they been on the level, then it could have happened at that point. They were not, and the reason was because they were not showing enough respect to one another. And this is once again the idea of the unity of Klal Yisrael. Right? When there's this lack of unity, when there's not respect, when we're not focused on one another, we're looking elsewhere, either looking askance at one another or looking elsewhere beyond our people, beyond our wives, our relationships for our gratification. If we're not this cohesive unit, then that is when things unravel. And that's what happened over here. Even though we braved through the attempted curses of Bilam and Balak's plans, but when we were not, as we're supposed to be, cohesive and together, that is when the gates of danger, they open up for us. Okay, my friends, I'm traveling next week. I'm going to be away the next 3 Tuesdays. Okay, we're leaving Monday, coming back 2 weeks later, Tuesday afternoon. So I'll be away the next 3 Tuesdays, and I'll be happy to pick up again. After that, if any of you like to get together and learn when I'm not here, I'm all in favor of Jerusalem. Okay? Yes?
When has Israel ever been considered? I mean, maybe it was a moment, but it's never like a historical period.
We've had our times, and I had our times. And yeah, I think what we need to look at is, how can we be more and what can we do to help that? Yeah. Yeah.